Okay, welcome to Parent Conversations. Today we have Tim Keady from the USU Extension, and he's going to be talking about helping kids have a healthy and active lifestyle. Is that right, Tim?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, the ball's in your court. You have at it. Share your screen, whatever you need to do.
Okay. Well, hopefully you guys can see this and we're going forward. I called it exercise and resiliency in families. When I think about exercise and with what I do, we always find it very important to be resilient in all that we do, especially when we're talking about our health, wellness and exercise, and family members as well as adults. So we go to the next one. This is my little title. Lots of stuff that we do sometimes. I'm a professional practice extension assistant professor of health and wellness at Utah State University. I'm part of what we call the HEART Initiative, which is Health Extension, Advocacy, Research, and Teaching. So we were hired about almost 3 years ago to reduce opioid deaths across the state of Utah. So that's what we were hired to do. You can see some of the things that I do. I'm an exercise scientist and health counselor. I'm a harm reduction specialist. I work and teach youth mental health first aid as an instructor, as well as a bunch of other things that I do. I'm a Utah State University Extension faculty member for CASH. Box Elder. We also include Rich in that for what I do specifically for the counties, and also I do it across the state for opioid, substance use disorders, and whatever else people want me to do. And in a moment, I'm going to have one of our new interns going to be starting, so I'm going to actually get her going at some point, but we'll go forward till she comes in. Okay, our objectives for today. We want you to be able to recognize the importance of positive physical and emotional health. Be aware of the importance of exercise for all family members. Use skills learned to enhance exercise and physical resiliency, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Okay, why look at these areas? We talk about current exercise trends in society. We're actually noticing that, believe it or not, most of our exercise is actually diminishing, so it's going down. So we want to increase that, obviously. And we start that generally with families. It starts at youth. People to be able to do more and more exercise and also be familiar with it and be comfortable doing it. Student lives and behaviors, COVID-19, obviously, something was thrown in, caused lots of problems for a while. People were afraid to do things outside, inside. Schools were canceled. People sat at their desks more. We did lots of Zoom meetings. Lots of things happened with COVID. So, we have to be able to be resilient and bounce back from those things also, which we are starting to see now, which is helpful. But during the time that it occurred, there was lots of issues. And actually, I spent a lot of my time, believe it or not, doing COVID-19 messaging. It's something else we worked on with mental health and physical health. At the university, we got a grant from Utah and did that for them across the state. So we did some cool things there. So you never know what you're going to do. You had to be able to bounce back. And our extension departments, even though we were not in our offices as much, we actually became very effective at doing things online and with people social distancing. So we call physical distancing instead of social distancing at the time. So we didn't want people to feel like they were going to be distanced from us in any other way socially. And why is resiliency important in 2021? Obviously, student success and wellness. We want to see people be successful and grow. We also want communities to grow. Recovery from all things that have happened in the past, whether it be physical, emotional, whatever it might be. We want to try and stop that. And then the health of society in general. So society becomes less healthy when things occur that are negative to our physical, emotional, and mental health. That could be anything from COVID. It can be issues with drugs, alcohol, sexual activity, whatever it might be, all those things. Okay, now we're going to ask some of your ideas. Why do you think exercise is important? I think you just go off and click off your mute if you want and just say, why do you think exercise is important?
I'll offer something. Exercise helps me stay clear mentally. It makes me feel good about myself and what I'm doing.
Very cool. That's perfect.
This is Emily. I feel like I'm a lot more effective throughout the day.
You are good. Thanks, Emily. You can come on. Yeah, she's my person. Anybody else?
Sorry, traffic is crazy right now.
Okay. One thing we're doing, I'm actually on another Zoom meeting. So we're gonna have you just sit there for a moment and we'll talk to you in a minute.
Sounds good.
My new intern, she's got to listen to us do this presentation. It's gonna be fun. We'll ask you to close the door maybe for a second. Okay, anybody else have any comments about why exercise is important?
I know why exercise is good because it makes us be healthy all the time.
That's fantastic. That's a great answer. And who was that?
This is Jackson. This is Lindsay's son.
Fantastic, Jackson. I appreciate that. That was a very good answer. Anybody else have any ideas why exercise might be important for everybody?
I noticed that when I'm having those days that my mental health is struggling, that I really have to get some exercise. I have to go out for a walk or something. And as long as I do that, I can usually get through okay, but I have to make sure it happens.
That's great. Very cool. Well, thank you for that. Okay. The reason we think it's important, obviously what you guys mentioned, but we talk about wellness being different components, the physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, environmental, financial, occupational, and social. This happens to be a model that we use in substance use disorders, but it works out pretty well to look at other things too when we talk about everything that goes on in people's lives.
Tim, we had a couple of comments typed in the chat. Catherine said that it regulates emotions, and Shirley said that she always feels better after she exercises, even when she doesn't want to.
Fantastic. Yep. Sometimes people don't want to exercise, but once you get moving, usually you feel much better. So that's great. Great comment. Thank you. And thanks for doing that too, Megan. Okay, we're going to give you some reasons why we think it's a concern in the US, obviously. We talk about inactivity contributing to 1 in 10 premature deaths. The cost of physical activity, when people are not doing it, is about 117 billion in healthcare care costs. Only 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 high school students fully meet activity guidelines for aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. About 31 million adults age 50 or older are inactive. They get no physical activity beyond daily living. Less than 1/4 of children 6 to 17 years of age participate in 60 minutes of physical activity every day. And in 2017, last time we had data for it, only 26% of high school students participated in at least 60 minutes per day of physical activity on all days in the previous week. So we're concerned for many reasons. And then we have students that are physically active tend to have better grades, better school attendance, better cognitive performance, memory, for example, and classroom behaviors, doing on-task behaviors, as well as being engaged in the classroom. Higher physical activities and physical fitness levels are associated with improved cognitive performance, concentration and memory, and among students it's declining. Communication levels in families are decreasing. Motor learning and cognitive ability theory means people that do things outside with their hands, running, whatever it might be, learn better. It's something actually one of our professors here taught me many years ago when I was in graduate school at Utah State University, which was kind of amazing. Dr. Fronsky was her name. TVs, computers, and video games, that use is increasing. There's more screen time than ever. So controlling that becomes difficult for some families and some children. Social media's influence, many negative effects are coming up from social media's influence, ranging from mental health issues, physical issues, to just being able to not sleep. Stress is increasing, we see that. And there's a lack of time for families due to what's happening in some of our societies. Okay, some of the benefits for children. Benefits for children include improves aerobic fitness, muscular fitness, improves bone health, promotes favorable body composition, improves attention and some measures of academic performance. Let me ask any of the children that are on the call, or youth, whatever we want to call them, do you think you guys do better when you exercise? Or do you do better when you're sitting at your classroom, falling asleep?
When we exercise.
Great answer. I'm glad to hear that. Anybody else?
Well, I'll say that when my children are cooped up with each other all day and we don't go anywhere or anything, that they tend to just nitpick at each other.
That sounds about right. I see that quite a bit, huh? Especially with siblings, doing lots of fun things to each other. So
I
again,
have something to say about that.
okay,
From a school teacher's perspective, it was hard because students who got in trouble for being too restless during class, it's like an inclination to take recess away from them. But then I know it's a lot harder on everyone because they really need the outlet, almost probably more than anyone else.
that's really good comment. I like that. Some of the things that when I was in school years ago, people used to take away physical fitness, right? Just get taken away from children before and after school. And some of the studies that actually one of the professors here did years ago showed that it was causing more behavior problems, taking away those break times for students to be out, as well as, again, you have teachers who are less stressed, get to go just take a walk outside. Sometimes it's a little bit more of a challenge, I think, for teachers because they have to be able to watch what happens on the playground and people get hurt. So whenever people play, somebody's going to have something happen, right? That's the problem we run into, and how we balance that becomes important too. It's something we're not to talk about today, but there's some other things we can do to mitigate some of that as a factor, but just have to be able to realize somebody's going to fall down and scrape their knee. That's what's going to happen. We can't overreact and have people available that are going to just take care of it and not worry so much about it. But we know that some of the exercise benefits are and include reduces the risk of developing health conditions, heart disease, cancer, all those things, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, obesity. And also one of the things that we don't think a lot about is fit kids sleep better. So somebody who's playing a lot goes to sleep better. They're tired, physically tired. It causes them to sleep. They're also better able to handle physical and emotional challenges, from running to catch a bus to studying for a test. I think that becomes kind of important. We don't think a lot about that as far as what we're doing with school. We talked about people being home with COVID and learning, at home. I don't know if I'm hoping some of the teachers had students go out and start running and jogging and doing some things differently by themselves. That's something we didn't think a lot about when it first started. We're so busy trying to get our students to learn that we didn't always do the exercise stuff or trying to get them doing some things to make them more resilient. One of the things that we talked a little bit about is exercise is medicine. That's a global health initiative for the American College of Sports Medicine. It's one of the things that I do. I think that's something that we don't think a lot about either. We talk about that. So the ACSM, something I'm a part of. It talks about making physical activity assessment and promotion of standard in clinical care. So connecting healthcare with evidence-based physical activity resources for people everywhere and of all abilities. So we want to encourage physicians and everybody to do that. Like I used to write exercise prescriptions when I was working and doing stuff as an exercise scientist. So that's something to be aware of. It's pretty important. And when you can think of exercise as being medicine, it kind of changes your perspective of what exercise can be. Okay, benefits for adults, again, lowers risk of high blood pressure and stroke, improves aerobic fitness, mental health improves, obviously cognitive functioning, so memory, reduces arthritis symptoms, prevents weight gain. Then just for healthy aging, reduces risk of falling, the balance becomes very important, some of the simple things that we do, improves balance, improves joint mobility, it extends years of active life. There's some things we'll show here in a moment that talks about what happens when people exercise on a regular basis. It can increase your lifespan significantly. Helps prevent weak bones and muscle loss, and delays onset of cognitive decline. As I mentioned, there's 5 healthy habits to lengthen your life. These are some of the things that people came up with from the NIH, so National Institutes of Health. They found that people who maintained 5 of these healthy lifestyle factors live more than 10 years longer than those who didn't maintain any of these. So healthy eating. Can any of you tell me what healthy eating is?
Well, for starters, it's getting enough water.
Okay, water's great. I think Tori was going to say something too.
I was going to say, I tell my children that it's protein, fruits, and vegetables.
Does chocolate count in there anyway?
Sounds good to me. Bring it on.
That's right. Dark
It has
chocolate's
to,
better.
but in small quantities, right?
That's right. Everything in moderation, right? So we tell people. I worked with many people, helping them gain weight, lose weight. I worked with athletes, hockey players, men's and women's teams, like at the collegiate level. And believe it or not, some of the things that they did was actually not beneficial to them being successful. They didn't eat before they played their games. So we had to actually train college athletes to eat more food, which I thought was kind of fun. But of course, not junk food, some healthy foods. Peanut butter was a big thing. If people could eat peanut butter, that was a big thing for them to have, or something like that. Some other form of dense protein, low fat, high protein, help them to be more successful in some other athletic endeavors. But for children, right, eating well, some fresh fruits and vegetables, but starting young, having people learn that vegetables are good, right? My children and grandchildren grew up eating fruits and vegetables, what they ate most of the time. And so we always had a lot of things around for people to eat, and we still do. Always having fruits, fresh fruits and vegetables on the table. We don't limit sweets, but most of my children do not eat a lot of sweets. It's just something that they've never done because they're so used to having something else that they like to have with the sugar in it, obviously some fructose. Okay, so thank you guys for that. Any other comments before I go from healthy eating?
Catherine commented having a balanced diet.
Yeah. So talk about eating appropriately. People always wonder what that means. And really, it's just lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, small amounts of, I guess, meat, if you want to say, or some meat product instead. Having days when you have a no meat meal. So something with just beans, legumes, something like that, tofu, those types of foods, instead of having just a fast food burger or sandwich. So being aware of that's important. But recognizing you can eat well, even going out to eat, if you just take your time and choose things that are better for you. So that's a good thing. Thank you guys. And then one other habits they came up with was 3.5 hours of moderate to vigorous activity or exercise per week. So getting out and doing something that's going to be worthwhile. So going out for brisk walks, but also doing some things like push-ups, sit-ups, wall squats, whatever it might be. We'll talk about those a little bit more every week. In children, what do you guys think would be kind of something that would be really active that you could do outside during the week?
Usually playing outside.
Yep, that's perfect. Do you play tag or anything outside?
Yeah, I also like to ride my bike.
That's great. Riding your bike, doing tag, that's great. Anybody else have any ideas?
My kids like to go to the park. They love to play on the playground. They tend to get tired of things like short hikes, like a river trail or something like that that's short. They'd rather play on the playground. Although if I go for a walk, then usually someone wants to come with me.
That's great. See, that's what we're talking about. And let's talk a little more about that, how we get our family more active, right? That's the thing that we want to look at. And believe it or not, I actually taught a class where I taught couples or two people how to work out together. And so you can do that actually with children, exercising and doing some simple things that you like to do together. And going for walks, playing on a playground, anything like that can actually be a lot of fun. So that's great. Anyone else have anything?
I have a couple of comments in the chat box. Shirley said it's important that parents realize that they are setting patterns for their kids that will follow them throughout their lives. Of course, kids may grow up and choose a different lifestyle, but for the most part, kids will continue the eating patterns that they learned growing up. And then Catherine said that they live a half mile from the kids' school. We walk each day. Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
And then let's see, Shirley also said kids do also come with their own style. She has one son that just chose on his own to eat healthy and avoid or have very little sugar. So yeah, everybody comes with their own style, but greatly it's modeled by parents.
I like that. It's really good. We talk about modeling good behavior, right? Sometimes we don't think about how much influence parents have on their children. That's a big deal. And I think that remembering that all the time becomes important, especially related to eating, exercise, And also some other things we talk about, not smoking or doing other drugs. That becomes an issue for some people too. Family members that smoke, at one point it was up, you had 60 to 70% of family members who smoked because they had parents or someone in the home that smoked also. So those numbers have changed a little bit, so we have less people smoking, which is great. But we do have more people doing different things like vaping and those types of things, which we want to encourage people not to do. So smoking becomes something we try to have people not do. Besides, it smells terrible, makes your face look weird. There's lots of weird things to you. So try and stay away from that if we can. Some people do smoke. We don't dislike the smoker, we dislike the smoke. That's kind of what we tell people. We don't tell people you're yucky, we tell them the smoking's yucky. So that's kind of thing we talk about with our children. Then moderate or no alcohol intake. We know alcohol obviously is not generally a good thing for most people. We talk about alcohol denatures protein. So it kills cells, what it really does. So being aware of that becomes important. But then people as adults can make their own choices. But having people drink before they're, realistically for me, 26 years old, can cause issues with brain development. Working with stuff that I work with, substance use disorders, that type of thing that I do on a daily basis. We find that the younger people start using drugs and alcohol, the more likely they are to continue that throughout their lifetime. So we want to have people be careful. And if you're going to do something, and if you wanted to use alcohol in a way that works for them or their families, use it after you turn 25, 26 years old, before you really start drinking anything, because then at least your brain has had a chance to mostly complete its development. Not that it has a significantly less effect, but it has less effect on a human being after that point. So it's being aware of that's important. And then maintaining normal body weight. If you take care of your body weight, that doesn't mean being really thin or anything, but also some people are developmentally going to be a little bit bigger. Some people will be a little bit smaller. If you look actually through families, you can actually notice weight gain and weight loss. Sometimes it's a normal part of aging. But being more active generally gets people back to their normal weight. Having worked with lots of athletes and people to lose and gain weight, people always ask me, what was my weight supposed to be? And we have some guidelines for weight, but most of the guidelines we have are within 40 pounds, right? Plus or minus 40 pounds usually. So that's a huge way to look at things. In BMI, which we use now for determining what body weight should be, is actually not developed for something like that to be used as kind of a health monitor kind of thing. So some of the stuff we're seeing becomes less important to me as a scientist when I looked at what goes on in people's bodies, and especially in regards to exercise and nutrition. I tell people, if you want to know what your weight should be, I want you to eat appropriately, exercise, manage your stress, and do all those things for approximately a year and see how much you weigh. If you've gained weight or lost weight, you're probably getting closer to your normal weight. You continue that for 10 years, and you're going to be at probably what your normal weight should be. People get mad when I say that, but that's kind of how it really works. It's not something that can be simply done. It's a matter of lifestyle also, taking care of yourself well. So maintaining normal body weight, moderate little to no alcohol, not smoking, not doing other drugs, exercising, and eating well becomes very important for many people. Okay, when we talk about activities that people should be doing, especially for children and adolescents, 60 minutes of physical activity. So approximately 60 minutes in a day for children. Think of what children do playing wise. Most of you as children probably play at least 60 minutes a day, I think. Sometimes it can be running upstairs and downstairs to your room, whatever it might be, going outside, playing with your brothers or sisters, your parents. So we want to have them breathe fast and their hearts to pound. We talk about aerobic activity. So there's three kind of major areas we talk about: aerobic, muscle strengthening, or anaerobic, and bone strengthening. So we want you to run, do things so you breathe, hearts pound. We also want you to do things like push-ups, climbing, riding your bike, those kind of things, bone strengthening, jumping or running, at least 3 days per week also as part of that 60 minutes. We talk about or more things. What are other things that people like to do. What do you guys think?
My favorite is yoga.
Okay. Yoga is great to do also. Helps stretch people, also makes you have some mindfulness, which is great. Anything else? Okay, we'll talk a little more about these in a moment. Get some other things. Something we also get asked a lot is, what's an age-appropriate activity, right? We have some activities are better suited for children and adolescents. We talk about play being important. We talk about younger children, strengthening muscles when do gymnastics, jungle gym, climb trees. Children do not usually need formal muscle strengthening programs, right? Such as lifting weights. As children grow and become adolescents, they may start structured weightlifting programs, maybe do with football or basketball team practices. So we talk about age appropriateness in a lot of what we do, especially even as you age beyond that, there's things you can do and not do. So trying to think of what you like to do. And in most cases for children, it's gonna be perfect for their age and their time. I just encourage people not to have like their 5-year-old try and lift weights on a regular basis. Once in a while, lifting things is not a big deal, but they shouldn't be doing anything where they're trying to build their strength at that point. Simple body weight exercises, running, push-ups, sit-ups, all those things become more important for that. Okay, we're gonna do something that's really quickly. It's a little break for you guys. Everybody there, if you have a chance and can, I want you to just stand up for a second. I want you to just kind of walk in place slowly. If you want to twist just a little bit as you're walking, that's okay. Just do that for about 30 seconds. We're going to start now. Just kind of walk in place, putting your knees up a little bit higher. Start with your knees slow, as long as you can do it. It doesn't hurt you. You talk about talking with your healthcare professional, your doctor or physician before you begin. That becomes important, but walk slowly. Sometimes we tell our children to stamp their feet, lift their knees up, all those things, kind of have fun for a moment. And then when you're about done, about right now, I want you to just do some little simple jumping jacks. So simple jumping jacks like this, just do 10, taking your time, count them out to your family if you can. I want you to stop for a moment and just rest from just about 30 seconds. Just take a deep breath after you're done doing those little jumping jacks. I don't want to do them too quick, so I want to give you guys a chance to just breathe for a moment. Okay, when you're ready, you can, I want you to do some simple push-ups. You can do push-ups either on the ground or at your desk. Even you can push off just from your desk if you like, or you can even just push into air, just like that. That also can help increase your strength, believe it or not. Just doing that very slowly, doing kind of an isometric exercise. Take your time, just do some of those if you can. 10 at the most. Okay. Take a little break. Talk about 30 seconds between each one, kind of like a circuit training, taking your time. Then when you get a chance, we want you to just do some simple sit-ups. So a sit-up, either put your legs in the air, so lay on your back, bring your knees up, and just do some just very simple exercise where you just tense your stomach even. You don't have to go all the way up, just tense your stomach with your legs down, some simple sit-ups. So try some of those for a moment. If you do 10, that's great. I should probably say, how's everybody doing? You guys doing okay?
Yeah, that was good. It feels good.
Okay. Take your time. Hope you're almost finishing up your sit-ups, or at least your what we call crunchies too. Just simple exercises. And then we want you just to stand with your feet just like shoulder width apart and do just, we call squats, right? You just do squats. So just bend down like you're going to sit in a chair and then push back up. You just do them very slowly and just do 5 to 10 of those if you can. If you need to, you can do them actually against a wall also. Okay, you actually do it against the wall and kind of slide down the wall and hold that there if you like, just as an isometric exercise for 5 to 10 seconds. And then push back up and then go back down just like you're sitting in a chair. Hold it for 5 seconds and then push back up. If you have questions about that, we actually have videos shows people how to do those. So we ask you to do that. If you need that information, we can provide that to you also. Okay, how's everybody doing? You guys okay?
Yes.
Yes, good. That's great. So believe it or not, these are things that I have people do quite a bit, no matter what they're coming to me for, if they want to talk to me about something, if they have questions, for people with sometimes problems with their mental health, so they have problems with different things, or physical health, we don't know what they need to do. I have them just do simple things to start like this. And sometimes this is just a way to get people to feel a little bit stronger, and they feel a little bit more like they're more fit. They're able to come in and talk with us a little bit differently. It gives them a little more self-esteem. They feel better about doing this for themselves. So just simple, we call it 10, 10, and 10. Jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. If you do these every morning or every night or both, you actually can feel better within about a week. You'll actually get a little bit, you'll get stronger. So, and in about 8 to 10 weeks, I can increase your strength 100%, no matter how old you are, just by doing these simple things. We've done it with thousands of patients, and so it's really pretty easy to do. But it takes kind of a reminder and dedication to do those things. And usually we have to have the children lead the parents. So children, you guys help your parents do these things every day, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we should hopefully feel re-energized to start talking a little bit more about our parent conversations and finishing some things up here. Okay. All right, this is going to be a little bit probably more thoughtful for people and for really parents a little bit, but we talk about exercise keeps your psyche fit. So it keeps you feeling better mentally. Exercise, believe it or not, is beneficial and a low cost treatment for depression and may help with other mental health disorders. That's from the American Psychological Association. So lots of cool things are done just with exercise. So we know exercise decreases coronary heart disease, various cancers, blood pressure, improves metabolism, reduces related diabetes problems, assists in maintenance of bone density, improves your immune system. We know those things already. We've talked about some of those already in different parts of our life. But did you also know that it's good for your head, right? Psychologists report exercise as a third successful alternative for treatment of clinical depression after medications and psychotherapy. So that's pretty amazing that with all the stuff we can do, exercise still is very important for some of these things that we know people might have and have problems with. We think about exercise that can help with anxiety, issues of self-esteem, weight loss and weight loss management, addictions, which is what I work with. I actually have special programs I do with exercise for people who have substance use disorders or are addicted to different medications or illicit substances. So illegal things like heroin, cocaine, those types of things. So it helps with maintenance of cognitive or mental functioning. It helps with treatment of serious mental illness. We actually use this for people who have significant psychological disorders, which is kind of cool. In studies that we did, but actually the APA did, they found that exercise was a beneficial antidepressant, both acutely or immediately and over the long term. So kind of cool that we know that. It was most effective in decreasing depression for those physically and psychologically unhealthy at the start of their exercise program. And one of the things that I did in a former position that I had is my job was trying to stabilize patients who were going through mental health counseling. So trying to get them so that they were taking care of themselves better, so therapy could actually work for them. Then we talk about decreasing depression. And older people really benefited from exercise. We talked about reducing depression. Exercise was equally effective for men and women. And walking and jogging are the most frequent forms of exercise researched. So kind of cool, we can do these things. One of the things that I just want to mention to our group here is when we talk about emotional resilience and how to safeguard your mental health, we talk about 3 dimensions of emotional resilience. There's a physical element, so having energy, good health, and physical strength. There's a mental or psychological element with self-esteem, confidence, awareness, self-expression, reasoning, those types of things. Then we have the social elements. Includes interpersonal relationships, work, significant others, children, parents, friends, values, communication, and cooperation. So if you think of it from a practical standpoint, exercise becomes very important for our life for many reasons. This is just an example of some of the things that we know that exercise can help with. And for I know some of your children, this might be a little bit too much information, but I think being aware that we can help ourselves with exercise for our mental and physical health becomes very important. So we've talked a little bit about this kind of the research stuff. Now we're going to talk about creating a plan for you as a family. We want you to take this acronym that we use. It's called FIT. So frequency, intensity, time, and type. We want you to think of something that you could do with your family that's going to fit that. So how often are you going to do it is frequency. How intense is it? So are you going to breathe hard, breathe kind of medium, or just kind of have it be kind of just a slow kind of a walk kind of thing? You can measure that on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever works for you as far as intensity goes. So that means how hard you have to work, how hard your body works for that intensity. Time is how long it takes to do it. Are we going to do it for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it might be? And then type. What's the type? Are you going to walk, run, aerobic, anaerobic? So lifting weights, lifting trees, playing on the jungle gym, whatever it might be. Figure out a way to make it work. And I tell people, especially families, we talk about this being play. Most women, if you look at most women across the world, women are generally pretty fit. After they've had a child, especially their first child or so, they have to do so much with that child every day, lifting it, putting it down, walking, doing things, changing it, feeding it. All those things are done on a daily basis. Basically, almost every minute, something's going on with a family, with children. That really gets that parent moving. And parents, hold their child. As a child gets older, they still hold them till they're 30, 40 pounds, if not more sometimes, and keep them moving. So remember, looking at what your family can do together becomes very important. So playing and doing something fun, getting outside, going for walks, playgrounds, playing in the dirt, playing on a beach, wherever you want to go and do things, that becomes important. There's almost no limit to what you can do as a family. We talked about even just playing tag. There's so many things you can do even just with tag. So many different ways to do things and have fun. So being aware of that's one thing, being able to do it becomes another. So I want all of you on the call to figure out a way to make the FIT acronym something you do on a regular basis. So use that to your benefit and figure out a way to make it work for you. And if you have small children, you make it fit your small child. So maybe you go and you carry your child for a little bit and go for a walk to the park. And then when you get to the park, the child gets down and plays, and the parent rests for a moment after carrying the child. Because some children get heavy after a while. So being aware of that becomes important too. But figuring out a way to make it work for your family is what I'd like you to try and do. So is there any questions about this FIT acronym? I'll take that as a no.
Yep, no questions coming in.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna do the FIT. That becomes part of your family's life. We talk about playing with your family. And then incorporate some of these other activities with exercise. I talk about some things that we can do as you're going for a walk, for example, or as you're playing. We talk about drug and alcohol prevention. Talk to your children, your family, your adolescents, whoever it might be with you about these things. We know that approximately 90% with substance use disorders began before the age of 18. So if you think of it that way, your impact you have as a parent or a caregiver on your family, your children, your loved ones, whatever, becomes very important. You've got to take that time to be with them, give them good information, help them through some things, have them have that connection with you, and being able to speak and communicate well with you becomes very important. Of course, we talked about COVID-19, modeling health promoting behaviors. That's something we know even just by hand washing. We know if we trained parents or caregivers well, their children would do well washing their hands. So same thing with this kind of thing with exercise and family wellness. Taking care of both family and self becomes important. Social skills, right? As you're doing something, teach them to say no. Talk to them about something. Give them some kind of a scenario where you're talking about, you know, if someone asks you to smoke, what do you do? If someone asks you to go for a ride and you don't know them, what do you do? What do you say? Do you say no, maybe, sometimes? Work on some of those social skills with your children. Look at societal norms and ethical behavior or moral behavior. Look at that as what you're doing with your children, teaching them the right and the wrong things to do in different situations. And believe it or not, while you're doing simple exercises, playing, having fun, you can talk and incorporate some of that into what you're doing. Pro-social involvement and behavior, obviously. Participation in positive school and community activities, help provide protection for youth from many different things. So that's when we talk about pro-social behavior. Then being resilient, adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or stress. Resiliency is something that we all have. Many of us just don't use it as often as we should possibly, but it's there. We just need to call on it and use it more and teach our families to use it on a regular basis too. Give you some quick tips for when we talk about families. These kind of things I've used for a long time. So let's see what you guys think of these. When we talk about wellness tips for everyone, talk about people smiling. Be that annoying person that nobody likes that's always happy. I want you to try that. Is there anybody, looking at the family that we've got, Tori and her family and people on the call, maybe Catherine Ells and those guys. Is there anybody in your family that's always positive?
I would say that I tend to be the most positive one in my family. And
Okay.
most of the time I get a good response from that. I will say that when I was in college, my roommates would say, "Why are you so happy in the morning?"
Okay, so you're one of those annoying positive people then. That's great.
At least I was more back then. But yeah, in general, it tends to go just fine.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, so try and be that positive person that people go, "Oh, stop being so happy." Okay, that's
We
kind
do
of
have
cool.
another comment from Catherine. She said their 2-year-old's always laughing and trying to get everyone to smile. I bet that's adorable.
That's great. That's very cool. That's perfect. Keep them that way, right? We want to keep them smiling and happy. Okay, so be that smiling, annoying person. Manage your stress. Obviously, we know we want to try and do that whenever we can. We talk about eustress, which is good stress versus distress. Being able to know the difference is important also. So when you take an exam or doing something, that stress you might have could be a positive stress. As long as you've studied, it's not distress, you didn't study at all, and that's okay. Having that little bit of adrenaline to do well in sports, to do well on a test, do well when you're dating, whatever it might be, that's the good stress. Distress when it gets out of hand and it causes harm. So I want you to be careful of that. Have fun, get outside. There's some more tips that we provide for people. And then be grateful and when possible, help others. And a lot of people will try and help others for different reasons and different things are going on. And I think that's great. It makes you feel better and it helps them. So it actually has a really good benefit for everyone's health and wellness. Take many mind vacations, meditate. Used to tell people to take 5 minutes and think of a place they love to go and pretend they're there for a little bit. Or you can meditate using some repetitive motion, inhaling, exhaling, those types of things, using diaphragmatic breathing. That's kind of a cool thing to do too. Just think of what you could do if you weren't there, where you are currently. Talk about relationships, having good positive relationships become important. Find people that lift you up, people that aren't a pain to you, people that support you and love you for who you are and don't try and always change you. We got people dinging my phone too much here too. Not very happy about that. That's okay. All right. So eating a balanced diet, drink water, 6 to 8 cups for some of you younger. Boys and girls, try not to do quite that much maybe, but you can drink as much as you can. When you go to the restroom, it should be pretty clear. We talk about being tea colored or a little bit colored yellow. Not real bright yellow, not blue, not purple, anything like that, but try and just make sure it's clear. Exercising 30 to 60 minutes most days for everyone. And then sleep. Sleep becomes very important. We have most people think that as they age, they should sleep less, where the reality is they should sleep just as much, if not more at times. So sleeping becomes very important. Most elderly can't sleep because of pain or other issues that happens in their bodies. That's why that becomes a limiting factor for them. And if you want to take kind of, we call it like a regenerative nap, we talk about being about 27 minutes. Actually, NASA came up with 27 minutes being a perfect time to sleep as a nap, if you can fall asleep relatively quickly. If it takes you 20 minutes to fall asleep, it's probably not a good thing. But if you're able to fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes, taking a brief nap can regenerate you and rejuvenate you and make you feel better. That's what all the basketball teams, hockey teams, football players, everybody naps now before they go to their practices or before they play their games, which I find really fascinating. It's kind of fun, but it's okay. Something to try. Reducing high-risk behaviors obviously is great for everyone. See your mental and physical health care provider. If you're given medications or need those, make sure you take those as directed. Then unplug a couple of days a month, if possible. I was on call for many years, so I couldn't always unplug. But when I have a chance now, it's nice to be able to not have my computers and stuff with me as I'm doing things. So figure out a way to make it work for you. It's a really great idea. You call us with questions or call me with questions. You have questions specifically, we can help walk you through those. Here's how I hope you feel after our little presentation. Any questions that people might have? Any questions, anybody? You guys all good?
So far, so good, apparently.
Okay, try to do 50 minutes. I actually finished exactly on time.
You are good, Tim. Thank you so much for
Pretty
sharing your
surprised, actually.
knowledge with us again. Want to remind everybody that that the Parent Conversations is made possible by a grant from Bear River Health Department, and we hold it every Monday at 1 o'clock. And we will plan on seeing you next week, unless anybody has any last minute questions they've thought of in the last 15 or 20 seconds that they want to ask Tim.
One thing I'll share with you is we talk about being optimistic for our future. Of course, my name's Tim, so optimism is very important to me.
Oh, love it. Love it.
And we like the flowers because I lived by a area that actually had a bunch of sunflowers that were actually in the middle of a field that we'd go by every year. So kind of cool stuff. So it's kind of fun for that. And here's some of the links that we have for USU Extension for our Heart team. If you're interested in that, we can provide this for you in a kind of a written form or even email. Let us know.
Sam,
Yes.
that maybe just answered my question, but I was wondering if maybe you had a list of some of those things you were talking about, and like the unplugging and just the overall better health ideas.
Yep, we
Just
do.
in like
We have
a bullet
lists.
point list.
Yeah, we do. Yep, we provide that to you. If you want those, you can give us your email, or are you part of our group that's signed up?
I'm a part of the group, yeah.
Okay, so we can get to that. We can get to that. We send it out to everybody if you'd like, so people can have that.
That'd be great, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks
you.
again. And Cheryl Lee typed, it was great. Thank you so much, Tim, in the chat box, and we appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much. Guys, take care of
Thanks.
yourself and plan for some fun activities with FIT.
Yep, the weather's perfect for it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.